Boris Johnson urged the EU to get Brexit talks off the rocks today amid claims Theresa May has agreed a deal that could leave Britain paying into Brussels' coffers for decades. The Foreign Secretary demanded movement from the bloc as the Prime Minister faced a backlash over apparently increasing the divorce bill offered to up to £50 billion. The proposal is thought to have been signed off by the Cabinet at a lengthy meeting yesterday, after weeks of tense negotiations with the EU. It could pave the way for a summit of the bloc's leaders next month to launch trade discussions, although Dublin is still demanding more concessions over the border with Northern Ireland. Sterling rallied on the news, but there was fury from Brexiteers who accused the PM of selling out to Brussels. Mrs May tried to soothe nerves by repeating her mantra that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, meaning money will only be paid if there is a trade settlement. Senior Tories told Mail Online there would have to be a Commons vote on handing such sums to the EU, warning ministers could struggle to secure a majority. Chief Secretary to the Treasury Liz Truss told MPs today that any divorce bill for Brexit will be contingent on getting a good deal on future trade. A recent poll found that as few as 11% of voters would regard paying more than £30 billion as acceptable. Speaking on a visit to Africa this morning, Foreign Secretary Mr Johnson delivered a message to the EU, saying, "Now is the time to get the ship off the rocks." He said, "We're hoping very much that the offer the Prime Minister is able to make at that council will be one that guarantees sufficient progress." Theresa May is welcomed by European Union Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker before their meeting at the European Union Commission headquarters in Brussels, on October the 21st. Speaking on a visit to Ivory Coast today, pictured, Boris Johnson delivered a message to the EU, saying, "Now is the time to get the ship off the rocks." Speaking to business leaders in Germany today, EU chief negotiator Michel Barnier said the two sides were still working on a deal. In a round of TV interviews during a visit to Iraq, Mrs May was asked directly whether the UK had agreed how much it would pay the EU. She replied, "No, we are still in negotiations with the European Union. As the EU themselves have said, nothing is agreed until everything is agreed." Mrs May repeated her call for the UK and EU to move in step together to trigger the second phase of Brexit talks, dealing with trade and security, at a crunch summit of member states' leaders in the European Council on 14th to 15th of December. She is due to meet European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker on Monday for crucial talks. The true scale of the bill may never be known, as payments will be hidden deep in accounts and only paid when they fall due. Some elements, such as pensions for Eurocrats, will be ongoing for many decades to come. Tory grandees suggested they were willing to swallow some ongoing payments to the EU, but insisted they had to be contingent on a trade deal being agreed. Former party leader Ian Duncan Smith told the BBC, "If there is no trade deal, then my view, and I would think the whole of the party's view, would be we don't owe them any money at all."